Good evening, folks. This is Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, bringing you Grand Solar Minimum Update, Tuesday, February 6th, 11:07 p.m. Mountain Time, 2018. At least 12 dead, 80 injured on snow and ice-covered roads across Iowa and Missouri. I hope you have your boom goggles on. It's a heads up. We're headed to Boomtown. Bitter cold in every direction. Harsh winter conditions grip Northern Hemisphere as the globe cools. Never mind the severe cold hitting the Super Bowl this year or scientists lecturing us on global warming while their host resorts Davos got buried in snow. There have been a lot of cold gripping all over the Northern Hemisphere this winter, much more than many have expected. Europe has now joined in the freeze fest as the harsh winter spreads across the old continent and even down into Africa, and we're going to get to that. This is a current picture. Coldest forecast according to weather.online.de. Let's talk about the cooling globe. One reason for this cold could be due to a rapidly falling global surface temperature, as recorded by satellite data. In January, the global mean temperature dropped 0.2 to 0.26 degrees C within the tropics, according to the data. That'll come up any second. Oh, there it is. Now, if we come into the high res here, we're dropping from the last measurement. And we've seen this graph before and the slope of where we're at. So we're down 0.12 C. That's a nippy 0.12 C drop in just 1 month. Other cooling factors include the current La Nina, possibly the lower solar activity that we've been reporting on, and many others. There it is. There you are. According to Ice Age Now, last July, solar activity was at its most rapid decline in 9,300 years. And according to Solar Shutdown, my Facebook page, we say 10,000. In Northern Europe, cold winters are normal, but the recent forecast for the Finnish region of Lapland warned of temperatures down to minus 40 C. And there's a link to their website. You'll get this. Temperatures have been low all winter in Finnish Lapland, but the cold dip expected this week could see record-breaking extremes. Snow and cold are also forecast across the UK. I mean, we've been talking about this every night. We even had this ridiculous article up the other day from the Express. Britain set for foot of heavy snow next week in coldest freeze for decades. Spain, North Africa get frostbitten. The wintry conditions will likely impact agriculture. I wonder, have we talked about that in the European food markets? According to FruitNet and the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, the cold snap gripping much of the Spanish peninsula is likely to reduce the availability of vegetables and salad greens on the European market during the coming weeks. The extreme cold is even extended beyond Europe into Africa. For example, southern Morocco saw snow for the first time, and the second time, and the third time, and now dozens of roads are closed for the 11th time. I could go on, but there is a cooling pattern since 2016 that is a very steep curve, according to the data. At least 12 dead, 80 injured on snow-covered roads. This is how we started the video. Over the last 48 hours, 12 people have died on snow and ice-covered roads across Iowa and Missouri. 80 have been injured and 7 critically. A major pileup involving as many as 70 vehicles took place on I-35 near Ames, Iowa that we reported on yesterday. While officials in Missouri reported that more than 650 road crashes in 2 days and a massive 100 vehicle pileup on I-44 near Springfield also occurred. Another winter storm is brewing over the lower Mississippi Valley today, and it is looking like every 4 days we will have another system, as far as the models go out, which is about 4 weeks. Erie, Pennsylvania, about to shatter its snow season record. This is some awesome footage back in January 2nd That is not an awesome outfit, so we'll just stop right there. Sorry, Danielle. As of Tuesday afternoon, Erie was less than an inch away from setting a new record for the snowiest winter season. 7 inches are predicted over the next 4 days. Light snow this week will top Erie's previous record set 17 years ago. The city is still 30% of its average snowfall yet to happen through March and April. The new record for the snowy season will be set this week in Erie. And it's only early February. Thank you, Weather Channel, for being honest. And that is a boom. Denzel style. Morocco, world news, snow spreading across Morocco. Once again, we predicted this last week that they were going to get 3 to 5 feet of snow, and it came true, blocking 38 roads. As the cold weather is set to continue in the Sahara Desert, snowstorms across the country have closed several roads Monday, the Ministry of Transport said. Snowstorms have blocked 38 roads, which was quoted by the Moroccan news outlet Hespress. The ministry has managed to open 44 roads in various regions of the country after they figured out that you can push snow to the side. Oh my gosh, what's happening? Heavy snow continues to hit the Hokuriku region. This is not being reported in our press because it's Japan. Heavy snow on record scale hitting the Sea of Japan coast, continuing to cause widespread disruption to lives and transportation. The Meteorological Agency says snow clouds are persisting due to a minus 12 degrees Celsius air mass hovering 15 meters above the region. In Fukui, the snowfall was the heaviest since 1981 and 6 times the average. I'll leave you links. This is from Fukui, where last night 1,400 cars were stranded on a highway and they had to send out the military. You're not going to hear about this. But because of the connections we have in that region, we're getting you some footage here of the military vehicles that have been sent out for these 1,400 stranded vehicles. Which means grand solar minimum much in Chinese or Japanese. Floods are getting worse and 2,500 chemical sites lie in the water's path. Anchored in flood-prone areas in every American state are more than 2,500 sites that handle toxic, deadly chemicals. A new analysis on federal floodplain and industrial data shows 1,400 are located in areas at the highest risk of flooding. And I'll leave you this link, and these are the maps. Obviously, East Texas is terrible, and the entire I-95 corridor, Delaware North. Thank God I got out of there. Let's look at our region. Oh, nothing. Just one for 100,000 square miles. Stay away from the toxic waste. Very strong and shallow M6.4 hit Taiwan. Major damage. This building is sideways. Check it out. Taiwan quake kills 4, tilts buildings. Liquefaction much? Rescuers are working Wednesday to reach 5 people trapped and more than 140 people unaccounted for in several buildings damaged by a strong earthquake near Taiwan's eastern coast. The shallow magnitude 6.4 late Tuesday night caused at least 4 buildings in worst-hit Huanlin County to cave in and tilt dangerously, killing 4 people. Now, I don't know if they think they're going to jack that up with a couple big jacks or whatever. But that's not going to happen. And also, if we come over to the USGS map and we take a quick survey, we can see that there is a reduced number of seismic outbursts across the world. And that's because the space weather has kicked up, and we'll get to that. But if we go to 7 days all magnitude and come investigate over in the Taiwan area, I think that we're going to find something that could be very alarming. Because this 6.4 is following a 6.1, which happened 5 days ago. So this is showing a progression from a 6.1 back on 2.4. That was 2 days ago. My bad. To a 6.4 on 2.6. Now, anyone that's a geologist that works in seismology would say that this is an uptick. And we could be waiting for a larger quake in the Taiwan area happening soon. And that's a heads up. Because there has been a 6.1, 50 hours later, a 6.4, and that is increasing in magnitude. The Torrealba volcano in Costa Rica has the first big eruption of 2018. I had video footage, but I really couldn't keep up with the... we had too much. This is the first major plume of the year. So far, the Torrealba has maintained a passive emission of ash with columns generally that do not exceed 500 meters above the active crater. However, on Tuesday, February 6th, the volcano registered a significant eruption with a column that reached 1,000 meters above the crater and 4,300 meters above sea level, or just about 3 miles high. The activity continued for an hour, and another small eruption was registered at 8:32 a.m. today. Mayon's lava fountaining activity intensifies. 152 episodes in the last 48 hours. Mayon's volcano lava fountaining activity has intensified with a total of 152 recorded events since Monday, according to PhilVox. This is crazy. I'll let you just soak in the insanity that's pumping out of the earth and ever increasing. This is the fireworks of the gods. And it's not good for the locals. These events are accompanied by 83 volcanic earthquakes. And PhilVox also said that the continuous lava flow and degassing from the summit crater were also being monitored. It also reported that discrete episodes or eruptions that lasted for 41 minutes and accompanied by rumbling sounds audible within 10 kilometers from the summit crater were also recorded by the seismic network. Can you imagine being there? Heads up. You notice a new name on the volcanoes list today, 7th of February. Fuego, Mayon, Sabancaya, and Bagana. Bagana. It's all in the Bagana, folks. Mayon volcano eruption, volcanic ash cloud reported. Fuego, ash advisory, volcanic ash emission. Sabancaya, intermittent emission. Bagana, continuous volcanic ash emission. It is erupting. Excuse me. Current status 4 out of 5. There's Bagana webcams. I'll leave you links to all this. Clearly, we see a trail of volcanic smoke coming there. And let's talk about the sun, folks. The active region 2699 is not going silent. It is continuing to stay active. Here's the most recent 1-minute data. And we'll come over here and look at the 5-minute data. And boom! Whew. Do you have your boom goggles on to view this? Because we're in solar minimum and we have a sunspot. And there's stuff to look at in the sun. And for people like me, we're very excited. And here we can see just in the last few hours, 18 hours ago, we're up in C range again. Now, if you're going to analyze this chart as a mathematician or anyone else, a statistician, you can see that as this spot turned around from the limb, We have small spikes of activity up in here in the B range going up towards C, and they're still small. And then for the next 24-hour period here, they're getting wider. The events are getting wider on the spot. The activity is lasting longer. And then if we check the last 24 hours, you can see that the events are getting much wider and bigger. So this is a definite uptick as this spot turns to face us in the next 4 days. Let's take a look at it and do a little sunspot diagnosis because we did it yesterday and you guys know how to do it. And I'm going to show you that there has been an uptick. So we click on the disk, come over here to active sunspot region 2699, click on the blue square, and we can diagnose the sunspot. And we're going to learn a little bit about sunspot diagnosis here. This is from spaceweatherlive.com, the magnetic classification of sunspots. Here are the different classifications here. And I believe this sunspot is currently beta gamma, and you can read why. And that is a bipolar sunspot group, but complex enough so that no line can be drawn between spots of opposite polarity. As opposed to beta, which is a sunspot group of positive and negative polarity. So this, I believe, is a beta gamma right here, because it has some complex regions in the positive and negative polarities, which are irregularly distributed, so they can't be classified as a bipolar sunspot. And let's look at what I'm saying. Here it is. You got blue and red, positive and negative. And you can clearly see here that this blue is mixing with red to blue with red, and this blue and red. So there is red mixing with blue here, but it's more pink. So they're not giving a full red, and they're giving it beta DSO. Beta DSO. I'm giving it beta gamma, which is this rating. And if this is continuing, it went from beta to beta gamma. And this might get to delta or beta gamma delta. And that would just be more chance of a flare hitting us. Right now, C, when I started making the video, was at 15%. And it has now jumped to 25% for C flare probability. Because they're seeing the same thing I'm seeing, beta, delta, gamma. And M is still at 1 and X is still at 1%. So this could be continuing to increase, and that's all I'll say about that spot. And I'll leave you links to all this so you can do your own research and find out how to classify sunspots and do your own diagnosis. You got to click stuff. You got to make mistakes to learn. Someone sent me this in today. It's totally awesome. Why orientation of pyramids correlate with ice ages. I've been waiting for someone to do this to megalithic structures, and they have. And what they took is the orientations of the footprints of these megalithic structures all over the world and their declination due to the rotational pole on Earth. Now, this has nothing to do with the magnetic pole reversal or the magnetic pole wandering. It's a different pole, folks. So put on your boom goggles and learn something. The rotational pole is where the Earth spins. And all ancient societies could determine where that was simply by going outside at night, which they were very good at doing because they didn't have to work a horrendous job that they hated for some slave master for peanuts so that they could barely take a 2-week vacation. They had plenty of time on their hands, so they went outside and they looked up at the sky. And they could determine a point of rotation where all stars rotated, the center of the universe. And all megalithic structures were based on this geopole, the Earth pole, the pole of rotation of the Earth, which is not the magnetic pole. The North Pole, where the Earth rotates, is where the northern magnetic pole wanders around. But every so often, the North and South Pole flip, just like they do on the sun every 11 years. So we're not talking about the magnetic pole. We're talking about the rotational pole that every ancient could witness for the last 500,000 years. And what you're looking at is when you take all of the megalithic structures, I'll leave you links to this because this is mind-blowing, and you get the orientation and declination from true rotational north you find that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ancient positions, or 5 positions of the geopole. Here's the current one. This would be recent times. This is the last 100,000 year glacial cycle. And then the one before that, and before that, and before that. So what this suggests is 1, 2, 400,000 years of human civilizations being destroyed since the beginning of time. Now, why this is mind-blowing is if you come over to this graph, which I've made, and here I've put in the prediction. This shows you the last 450,000 years and the last 1, 2, 3, 4 major glacial cycles. And the gray-yellow lines, the gray-yellow areas, are times when ancient civilizations prospered on the earth. And this is our modern civilization prospering right here in the gray and yellow. 130,000 years ago, another civilization was prospering. And 100 and 240,000 years ago, another civilization was prospering. And then 330,000 years ago, another civilization prospered. And then 425,000 years ago, another civilization prospered. And in between, they were reduced to almost zero during these glacial maximums. Full glaciation for all this time. And then we recovered, and we are now in the modern warm. And the prediction is very dire. But because we only live for 80 years, we're only going to see a little bit of it. But we're in for a ride, folks. So what we can clearly see here is that modern humans, advanced civilizations, have existed for 400,000 years based on the orientation of the foundations of the pyramids. I'll leave you links to that. As we close, I want to tell you about one of the best up-and-coming meteorologists on YouTube, and it's David Schlotthauer. Now, this guy is only 22 now, but he started looking at the first computer models when he was 12, and he is obsessed with weather predictions and models. And if there is any place that will give you an unbiased weather forecast for your region, it is on David Schlotthauer's page. And he only has 1,900 subscribers. I want to get this to 5,000 for this kid. He's awesome. He deserves everyone's support. He is not like the rest. He's going to give you the most detailed scientific analysis of the storm. He's going to go through every model. He's going to show you how the models progressed from the earlier models to the later models. This kid's on point. David Schlotthauer, big thumbs up and a shout out for his weather channel. He's trying hard, and we should support him to the end. If you want a real prediction, come over here and subscribe. This is for all of North America. He's from California, so he started predicting there. He does excellent predictions all over for Canada, the Midwest, East Coast. He's now covering the Northeast, and he just started covering the UK. So heads up to my UK listeners. He's doing UK forecasts 2 to 4 times a week, and it's on point. He goes all the way down into the high-resolution maps, and he will explain weather systems to you scientifically. This kid has been predicting weather since he was 12. It's more than half of his life, I think. It's just about half of his life. So please come over and give this guy, Dave Schlotthauer, some support. He's the bomb, and that's a boom. It's a heads up, and you got your boom goggles on. Thanks for joining us. Before we leave, quick come over to the GIST 2 for a correction last night. The article is talking about the Greenland burials they found in the UK in 875. And I was looking on the graph here, 875 years before present. 875 happened here, where it clearly says on my graph that I did not catch that Vikings conquer Ireland, Normandy, Sicily, and Russia. And the reason was because in this time frame here, from 500 AD to to, let's say, 825 AD was the European Dark Age, and all of the civilizations were completely weakened due to famine, crop loss, and disease. So it was easy for the virile Vikings to come in and kick ass and take names. So maybe they weren't that tough. And then they colonized Greenland in about 900, which quickly kicked their ass because they were unwilling to eat seal meat. So Vikings really were biatches. And that is a boom, scientifically. Guys, please subscribe to our channel. Share this with like-minded people. Tell them to put their boom goggles on. And that's a heads up. Be safe, everybody.